Okay. Now, yesterday I talked about the role of the priestess and initiating men into the man, effectively, into empowered sexual being. And so I believe that the way to really empowering men, to inspiring men, to awakening men is through sexuality, through sexual healing. Obviously, sex is a need for men, and unfortunately, they have been really conditioned to, in ways that are really disempowering for them around sex, which has come from a lot of different places, which I'm going to get into. But the beauty of sexual healing is it really connects them to their emotions. So we obviously watched a movie last night about how men are so shamed for feeling emotional, and how sad is that? Like it feels. Who here feels a lot of compassion for men? Yeah. For the people in the live stream, that was everyone put up their hand. And when you do this work, you get the compassion, and I feel so blessed that I am, like, as a woman, that it's like safer. It's a lot safer for us and less shameful to feel emotion. So this is the talk that I do at Sexpo, and as I spoke before, like I'm usually in a bit of a different energy, and so I might kind of flip between that and this, different energy, different space. And it's really interesting because these men come in and they're like, yeah, I want to know how to have multiple orgasms, because women get to have multiple orgasms. So I want to know that too, okay? And a lot of men only seem to believe that they can, like, understanding that ejaculation is orgasms. The first thing I ask them generally is, do you think ejaculation and orgasm are the same thing? That's the first thing. Actually, who here thinks that these are the same thing? Okay. Yeah, totally fine. I used to too, right? I used to. So ejaculation is a reaction to orgasm, okay? So you can have an orgasm without ejaculation. So there's a number of different types that men can have. A lot of men also believe that they have to have an erection to orgasm. So a lot of men in my work often have ejaculate. I mean, we don't focus on ejaculation. I'll get to talk about that soon. A lot of men ejaculate when they're soft, and they're like, oh, how did that happen? Right? And I was like, you don't actually have to ejaculate. And a lot of them can feel a lot of shame too, because in a tantra session, and particularly when I'm doing a tantra massage, and I make sure I frame this up at the start of every session, I will say, it's likely that you are not going to, it's possible you might not get an erection, right? Because when they go to get a massage, they often will be quite hard. But because of the intention behind the session, because the intention is away from goal and focused on healing, the focus is not on, there is arousal within the session, but the focus is not on that, it's not on goal. And so they're so relaxed as well, and there's so much in their bodies that out of their heads, their attention is away from their lingam, or penis, is away from that. So it's through their whole body. So the intention is in their whole body, so they're not so connected to down there and focused on the energy. The energy is not focused down there. We're bringing it up, we're sublimating up into the body. Now, a lot of men feel like, oh, there's something wrong with me. This is like a beautiful woman massaging me, she's naked, and I'm not hard, right? And they feel, and so I really, for those of you that are going to do this work, I really encourage you just to make sure you actually mention that, okay? I often mention that at the start, because otherwise, if I haven't, sometimes they'll be like, oh, I didn't get hard and I went into my head. And the idea is we want to get them out of their heads. So it's really interesting when I do this talk at Sexpo that I frame this up and I say to them, so out there, outside of the space, there's porn and there's toys, and I'm like, that is friction-based sex. I want you to pretend that we're in a bubble. We're in a bubble because I'm going to be talking about emotions. It's very interesting to see that at one point I had 3 guys leave, these younger guys that got up and then left, and I said, see, these guys are not ready to become multi-orgasmic yet. Because if you want to become a multi-orgasmic man, you have to be prepared to deal with your emotional shit. Yeah. So, but it's so worth it, right? It's so worth it. So these poor men, I feel really compassion for the way that they have been conditioned around sex. And so, oops, going too far. Okay. So basically, men have been really conditioned to ejaculation, okay? And there's a number of ways that this has happened, okay? First of all, it's because they've been conditioned not to be emotional. That it's weak, and that it's wrong, and you're not a man. If you're emotional, don't be a pussy, all this sort of stuff, right? So guess how they deal with their emotions? With ejaculation. This is there. So many men I talk to, I'm like, sometimes I go to home at night after a hard day at work, and they'll masturbate, and they'll ejaculate, and they'll feel relieved. Oh, so good to get that out, like they're stressed out. So they're dealing with their emotional stress through ejaculation. Now, if you're having sex with a man, knowing that the vagina takes on energy, he's been emotionally stressed out, guess where his emotional stress is going to go? So the vagina holds cellular memory. Okay, this is really cool. We hold cellular memory, so we can, like muscle memory, we can pick up that, right, and hold it down there. So imagine how many men are going to see sex workers because they're stressed out. Oh yeah. and it's like, oh, I just got to get this out now. Now, I've just got to, I'm so stressed out. It's so beautiful when they come to do tantra massage to be able to provide it in a different way. Because tantra massage is really beautiful for stress relief, but not focused on ejaculation. So we hold cellular memory. Now the penis doesn't hold cellular memory, but they do around their balls and their crotch. They hold cellular memory. But the beauty of this is that this is where men can actually heal us and pull out. They can pull out the energy that's in there with this intention. If you're going in and using the lingam as a healing tool, they can actually pull it out and not take it on. Is this making sense? Yeah. Is this really cool? Yeah. Do you know? Yeah. And men don't even know how powerful their cocks are, right? They are massive, beautiful healing tools, but they've been so suppressed. They have the power to heal us, and we have the power to heal them when we're aware of it and when we're really connected to our sexual energy. And this is why I think that our sexuality has been so shamed, because of the power. I believe that sexual healing is the most powerful healing that we can do for ourselves and for others. So I want to quickly mention here, this has been in my awareness, is that I was talking to one of you ladies this morning about this, and that this is like a sexual healing revolution. That having this awareness and being able to sit here in front of all of you and pass this on and have you go out and do this is like going to be a ripple effect. Like it really is so amazing to be able to hold space for this and to have you all explore this, and how many men is this lives is going to change and their partners, and oh, it's so beautiful, and I'm just so excited. It's going to really wake up the world in so many ways. So you're going to discover more why as we go along. So they have this addiction to ejaculation, and it's also because they're very goal focused. Okay, very goal focused, and it's about that end game, right? It's about who's ever felt like, if a man doesn't ejaculate, he's not satisfied. Like if you're having sex with a man and he hasn't ejaculated, like that you're like, oh, what did I do wrong? There must be something wrong with me. Okay, it's actually better that he doesn't ejaculate. I actually kind of have a bit of it. I wouldn't say it's a really harsh rule, but if I'm going to be intimate with a man, my preference is that he holds his sexual energy. He doesn't release it. So same as what I was talking about earlier with women, is that when they ejaculate, they release their sexual energy. Okay, and so also this affects the happy chemicals, so the oxytocin and the dopamine, and so they actually, what can happen is they get disconnected from you, because the oxytocin is the bonding chemicals. So like I was talking about the other day, like you may not feel as connected to them. Okay, so you can end up fighting and all sorts of stuff. And I know some of you have this stories on this. Maybe share that later, but it can break the connection. Okay, so if you want to stay connected to a man, you might let him ejaculate if you don't want to stay connected, right? If you want to stay connected to him, I highly recommend, until you really build the heart connection enough, not to allow him to ejaculate, especially when you're first dating as well. I usually get my clients to do a 28-day journey of non-ejaculation, which I'll get into shortly. So, there's also really, for example, they get addicted because it's like they become numb, right? So this is where men get addicted to porn. Like, and this is how she said this at Sex Expo. I was like, okay, I'm about to tell you guys that everything out there is numbing you out. Sex Expo still loves me, thank God. They're still like, when are you coming back to talk? I'm like, yes. Because I do tell them, like, yes, if that's okay, don't make yourself wrong for it, and, you can still explore that stuff, but consciously. But when you're watching porn, you're going out of your body, you're needing visual stimulation to get off. You're not there, you're not in your body, you're out of your body. So, like any addiction, it's a numbing, okay? So I invite, the men, especially if anyone watching, to have a look at what are the things that you're numbing, and the emotions that are being numbed when you're watching porn, okay? And it becomes very addictive, and then the more that they do it, the harder porn they need. They need dirtier porn and harder porn, until it gets to a point where some clients come to me and they go, porn's just not doing it for me anymore. And then I've got premature ejaculation or erectile dysfunction, I can't even orgasm properly. They wonder why. It's because they're numb. They've numbed themselves out. So that's really good to be aware of if that's happening. And I know it can be very painful also for women when they've got a man that's addicted to porn and their partner's addicted to porn, because it can bring up a lot of triggers and things like that. One of my mentors has suggested that porn twice a year, the max. He's like, twice a year max, that's it, like, if that, But effectively, you really want to get out of that. I think watching porn with your partner is okay if it's done consciously, but again, do you really want to be doing that, or do you want to be connecting deeply with each other, or do you want to be watching, do you need to have, something to watch to get aroused with each other? I don't think that's necessarily healthy all the time. So, to break the addiction to ejaculation, there's a number of things that can be done. Okay, so before I get into that though, I just want to mention, and we'll get into this soon, is that if men have sexual issues, this is the thing that they need to do, is they've got to go on a journey of non-ejaculation if anything's going on with them sexually, or maybe they just want to last longer, have stronger orgasms, multiple orgasms, be harder. All those sorts of benefits happen when you start to rewire. So what happens is the more they are, maybe they have a constant masturbation practice, and maybe for most men it is just going hard, really fast, ejaculating, that's it. And it's the same thing, right? This is why lingam massage is really beautiful, because you're effectively waking up all different parts of the lingam that have become numb, because they're just having the same feeling, like it's just that kind of in and out or a certain way that they like it, and then they've numbed out the other parts. Similar to why we do body massage, we wake up the other parts of the vagina, and the vulva. So they hardwire themselves for that. They hardwire themselves for ejaculation. And, they've learned a lot from porn as well. They have, and this is often how they think to pleasure women. And in porn, there's no waiting on the woman's body up. It's like, let's just get in there and let's get to the money shot, right? Yes, they've been really conditioned, and they're not getting the proper sex education either. So this is why I feel so blessed to be able to have men come to me and then give them the education that they need around their own sexuality and in women's sexuality. And they're really wanting to learn. They are so wanting to learn. And if there's any men watching this, I would love to, have them comment and say, is this interesting? Is this, something that you really want to learn and explore? So on that note, I just want to let you ladies know that when men find me and the work that I do, they're usually looking for an escort or an erotic massage. They read my website, and which, by the way, if you want to go and have a look at it, is soulpriestess.com. There's a lot on there. There's some bowls and there's all my different things that I do. And the great thing about this, it gives you an idea of what I do so that you can see some of the practices. I go into like depth with, oh, this is what I do in this session, this is what I do in this session, and this is where it's coming from, and all this sort of stuff. But men will message me and they'll be like, so I was looking for this. Then I read your website, I was like, this is what I need. You know, they'll go, this is different. Oh, I've never tried this before. Oh, this is like, it made so much sense. And they'll be like, I read your whole website. I'm like, wow, that's amazing. Because I mean, some of them just look at the photos sometimes. But most of them come to me, and they come with the intention of wanting to heal, or wanting to learn, or wanting to explore, to wanting to go on a journey, because they've tried the same thing over and over, and now they've got to the point of either desperation, or they really are just wanting to explore their sexuality further, but they haven't had the awareness. So I love that I'm able to start bringing this awareness. Okay? And there's lots of other women that are doing this out there as well. But it's so beautiful to be able to speak really quite publicly about it and be so open. So to break the addiction and rewire their bodies, they have to go on they have to, like any addiction, you have to basically not do it and rewire yourself. So the 28-day journey, they have to do a number of other things during this time. So this has been all the breath, sound, touch, movement, comes in the conscious self-pleasure. So I have an MP3 that I give men, which is the same for women. Either people can use it, which is tinyurl.com. It's not on there, is it? / sexual healing with EJ. Think about that. It's a 10-minute MP3, and it takes people through breath, sound, touch, movements. The MP3 they can play on their phone. And I say, I want you to do this minimum 3 times a week, preferably every day, as part of your self-pleasure practice. Okay, now this is the same thing that I take them through in my session. Okay, so I take them through the breath work in the session, and then they can use this as a prompter to help them after the session to just go through the same thing that we've done. And then they'll go into self-pleasuring. But then I encourage them to not go to the old go-tos. Don't go to the old go-to that you used to go when you were playing with yourself. It's more about touching yourself in the ways that you haven't touched yourself before. You know, introducing light touching and oils and feathers and other sensations that will wake up their body, okay? And so it's similar for, you know, this is exactly the thing that I teach women. It's like going on a journey of non-clitoral orgasm for 28 days or so and start doing these things, okay? So when I encourage them to do the self-pleasure, I suggest that they play with edging, okay? So they will want to get up to about 70%, and they'll find an edge where they just know that if they go over this edge, that they're gone, that they'll ejaculate, okay? And I suggest that they play with that. They just play with what their edge is. And really important is if they do ejaculate, is not to make themselves wrong or shame themselves for ejaculating if they've committed to non-ejaculation for 28 days. They do have to restart as well. But again, if they do ejaculate, breathing up the energy, still breathing it up, which I find can make a real difference as well, and not be as, you know, releasing all the sexual energy. So edging is really important, and so what all this is really great for is obviously all those added benefits that I mentioned before. But so many men, have premature ejaculation, erectile dysfunction, or feel a lack of pleasure, numbness, or even inability to ejaculate altogether. So during this work, going on this journey, really helps them to heal this, okay? And when these men come to me, they they don't talk to anyone about this stuff. They don't feel safe to even talk to their own partners. You know, women, we're expecting, like, you know, our men to be able to pleasure us, and they want to be able to pleasure us, but if they're not working properly, then they can feel really ashamed about that and afraid to admit that. So when we do this work for men, we hold, I hold, and you know, for those of you that will do this work, even with your partners and lovers, it's such a safe space, and you hold the intention of what is the intention that we want to heal here, what's going on. And it's so beautiful to watch these men open up to me. And then we go deeper, they'll talk about their sexual experiences and things that have happened to them, and you know, I'll ask them questions about their self-pleasure practice, or when did this first start happening? What was going on in your life when you started to have premature ejaculation? And some of them, it's been their whole lives. So I want to run through the different reasons that people can have these issues, men can have these issues. And so it's actually and it's interesting when I say this at Sex Bar, I'm like, it's all to do with your emotions, right? It's emotional shit. And when they start feeling their emotions, so this is the other thing that I have to get into in 28 days, I encourage them to find other ways to deal with their emotions. Whether it's to, you know, go to do some boxing or get a boxing bag, or do the emotional release tools that I've shared with all of you. Encourage them, like, when they're feeling frustrated, when they're feeling stressed out, to go and use emotional release work, do some sort of emotional release work. So it's really important, and then they'll start opening themselves up, opening their hearts, you know, feeling so much more, awakening their bodies, and they'll start to feel more sensation, they'll start to feel orgasmic through their whole bodies, and they'll start to notice massive shifts. So I'm going to give you some examples through this. So premature ejaculation can often be because men have, when they've been teenagers and they've been masturbating, they've kind of wanted to get it done quickly in case they get caught. So, and their mum might walk in the room, or someone might see them, so it's like, oh, get it done quickly, get it out, you know? So this is, and again, they hardwire the neurological pathways of their brain to get it out fast. So, emotionally, it's really to do with its emotional insecurities, not feeling good enough, not feeling worthy, and unresolved mother issues. So it's interesting to say, your premature ejaculation is to do with your mother. Which again, it can be the shame, you know, they may not have a close relationship or talk to their mum about sexuality, that sort of stuff. So there could be a heap there, so much there. Okay? So this is why it's important to focus on them holding that. And sometimes when they start out doing these practices in my sessions, you know, we might not get to do a whole lot of linger massage because they might find themselves coming, wanting to ejaculate too quickly. Now, I do also say to them, you know, even though the focus of the session is not on goal, that if it does happen, it's okay. Right? It's really important because we don't want to shame them for actually ejaculating. And so, a big percentage of my clients do end up ejaculating, that's fine. But we're just seeing where they're at. This is why usually the first session is a tantric awakening massage, and I called it awakening. I added that on because I said, this is just about awakening your sexual energy to start with, and we're seeing where you're at. Okay? Some of my sessions are a lot deeper than that, depending on where the man's at. You know, some of them have done work on themselves, and so I can go deeper with them in the first session. And some men will have full body orgasms first time on my table. Some of them take a while, you know, and it's also to do with how often they commit to doing the practices. So, yeah, and so with erectile dysfunction, I want to tell a little story about this. I had a client who had this, and he came to see me with his partner, and they had some issues with betrayal because they'd been playing with someone else, and he had felt a little bit betrayed about it, even though he'd organised it. The whole thing was a bit quite messy. But I asked him, when did the issues with erectile dysfunction start? He's like 15 years ago, so he's in his 60s. And I said, so what was going on at that time? What was actually happening? And he's like, oh, you know, there was all this stuff happening with my business, and then it was working out, and felt like I couldn't provide for my family, and then I tried to kill myself. And it didn't work. He then ended up at the hospital, and he felt even more shame, and he was like, I couldn't provide, and all this sort of stuff, and I felt, I didn't even feel like a man, right? Which is common, like so many men, when they're non-functioning down there, like they literally associate their cock with their manhood. Like size, how it functions, how it pleases, it's like is relative to how much of a man they are in their belief system. So he was feeling really low about himself. And the wording that he used in the session that we did, when I was talking with him, he'd be like, I've got dead dick. I've got a dead dick. And my dick's my manhood. It doesn't work. All this sort of stuff. This languaging. And so then my first thought was, well, if you think you've got a dead dick, then you're going to have a dead dick, right? You're completely disassociated from it. So I said to him, when you actually try to, if you believe that your dick is your manhood and you try to kill yourself, he said, my dick is my life, right? This is the word. And of course, yes, you didn't kill yourself, but you killed your dick, basically. So we have to start reawakening it. And so the emotional reasons is actually to do with fear of abandonment. So he had this fear that if he could not provide for his wife, she'll leave him. Betrayal and rejection. He was feeling rejected, feeling betrayal, but then he was creating it, bringing someone else into the picture to please her because he wanted to please her, provide her, but he couldn't, but then feeling totally rejected and wondering, thinking that she's going to leave with this other man. But kind of creating that, how we create. So I felt a lot of compassion there. And so I could totally see what was going on emotionally. But sometimes it's hard too, because what I see as a lot of men are not willing to go into the emotion, into the wounds, because it's super vulnerable, and because they've been so shamed for that. I do hold very safe space for them to actually open up and explore their emotions with me, and encourage it and have them open up to me, which is beautiful. But through this work, they'll get in touch with their emotions without kind of having to really go in and figure out where does this come from and what's this wound, and have to look at my mother's shit and blah, blah, blah. Like, obviously, there's plenty of men out there that do that, but this is another way of accessing the emotional body. It's through the body work. Okay, so this is why I think this work is so important. When we do this body work with men, it's really awakening them. And having us show up in our femininity and our vulnerability and holding space is, inspiring to them as well, and they feel safe. So, then you've got lack of pleasure or inability to orgasm. So this is usually to do with guilt and shame, and inner child healing and forgiveness. Okay, so I had someone that struggled to orgasm, or to ejaculate, and it was because he'd been with someone that had always made him withdraw. And if he didn't withdraw, like the withdrawal method, he would get completely shamed for it. Like, she would get angry and be like, you didn't withdraw, you came inside me, and so he kind of had wired himself that it was like bad and wrong to ejaculate. And so it was this kind of guilt and shame. And there's a lot of other guilt and shame, but things like that as an example. Okay, so this is all the shame around sexual conditioning, and this tends to happen with, I've noticed with older men as well, that they might struggle to ejaculate. Now there's also other things like medications and things like that, and blood pressure medication that obviously affects them too. But this stuff still works with that, right? You can still do all this even if they're on medication. It's a little bit harder, but you can still. And also, you know, Viagra, oh God. You know, a lot of men turn to Viagra, usually in desperation. I totally get that. But it's a number. You're numbing the effect instead of dealing with the cause. So the beauty of this work all deals with treating the cause. You're going into the source, you're treating the cause, you're treating the emotions. It's all emotional, right? It's amazing. Yeah, and so when you work with the different energy bodies, when we're doing the body work, you're going to the emotional body and you're really, you know, and working shamanically as well. So it's beautiful work, and I'm so glad that you guys will get to see this afternoon. So that's pretty much covering most of the basis of the men's sexual healing, where we start and why we do this work, why sexual healing is so important for men. And so they've got a different option. Rather than going to get the Viagra, which will only numb them, we're getting them out of their heads, we're getting them back into their bodies, and we're getting them back into their hearts. Okay? So what I'm going to be doing with you next is we're going to do this breath work. We're going to supplement, we're going to do some breath work, we're going to do some heart connection practice, and it is beautiful when I do this with men. Wow. They just open. It just sets the tone for the session so beautifully. So good. You can tell that I love this. So we'll turn the live stream off now. I think they kind of got the gist of it.